We're about 7:30 just now. Thank you all for coming to another Tuesday talk. I'm Scott Canopy, the marketing coordinator for the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle Centre. And we're joined tonight by artists, writers and researchers, Katie Hall and John Pickering. So synchronicities and light phenomena have been part of Katie and John's life since they first met. Their unique photographic encounters with paranormal phenomena, including orbs and light beings, led them to write the popular book, Beyond Photography. This may be one of the most well-documented accounts of paranormal phenomena of its kind. Since its release, John has written 2 new books, The Quantum Mechanics of Prophecy and Looking Beyond the Materialist Delusion. Looking Beyond Materialism has been the recurring theme of our autumn programme. If you've attended any of our more recent talks, you will have heard from Rupert Sheldrake, E. McGilchrist, and more recently Philip Goff, each of whom presented compelling ideas about consciousness and the universe. It's our hope that these talks will help open your mind to alternatives to materialism and its mechanistic view of nature and the universe. Now, I'm going to hand you over now to John and Katie, who are about to present Spirit World. Please remember, if you have any questions, to type them in the chat, and I will ask them at the end. Thank you,
Scott.
Yes, so thank you, Scott, and good evening to everyone. It's good to see you all here, and it's great that we're able to at last give our presentation at the Conan Doyle Centre, and we want to thank Anne, Scott and Natalie for the invitation. We are in the Lake District and are members of the Unitarian Society for Psychical Studies.
Katie, I think what now, just that to check, can everyone hear us okay? Do we do a thumbs up?
Thumbs
Yep,
up.
we're okay, great. What we're going to try and do now, folks, is to do there's Stu, hi Stu, is to do a screen share, because we've got quite a few graphics to go through. So we hope this is going to go okay. So we're going to now try and do a screen share and speak over the graphics as we go. So try that now. You're best to put it on speaker view to get the impact of the graphics if you can. So, okay. I think we're okay there. Is that looking okay? Now we're going to try the first slide. Yes, good. This is just an initial plug for the Unitarian Society for Psychical Studies, of which we are members, aren't we, Katie?
Yeah. Well, to continue, again, I want to thank Anne, Natalie and Scott for running this presentation for us, and thank you to the Conan Doyle Centre, of which we have many good friends. Probably some of you might remember my Luminescence Exhibition here in the late 2018. All my paintings were based on the photographs John and I took over many years of paranormal light phenomena. The orbs, spheres and light forms we photographed drew us closer to the reality of one creator, one creation and one spirit of life that connects all life everywhere. And we felt it was important to share this insight with as many possible ways, with pen and paper, with photographs, with paintbrushes, and to try and reach out across faith and cultural boundaries. And so a new website is going to be part of that initiative in the new year.
And there it is. That's just a link to it. It's not up and running yet, but it will be in a couple of months' time. The reason it isn't is because we've found lots more stuff to put on it.
This is
so it will be up and running soon.
In 2012, we were speaking at a conference in Wales and met an elderly lady, now in her 90s, who has contacted us from time to time with many insights. And in January 2016, she wrote these words in one of her messages: "Do not be surprised at the events of the next 3 years. Personally, nationally, globally, and spiritually, these changes will touch everyone."
And really, Katie, she couldn't have been more spot on, because over those 3-year period, we saw some crucial events that have affected lots of people across the globe. Brexit in Britain and Europe, the election of Mr. Trump in the US. Then we had all the masses of poor, dispossessed and displaced people streaming into Europe from the Middle East, which has created all kinds of problems, not just for them, but for the whole of Europe. So it was, yes, yes, and also, yeah, COVID-19. And COVID-19 really has changed life in the human world. And I think it's brought into sharper focus both the best and the worst. And it seems from many directions that things have begun to polarize. And I think inevitably some views and values are bound to collide. And we can see this happening right now in America and in Europe. But to be honest, just like swine flu, MERS and SARS, COVID-19 seems to be the result of bad human practices. It really does. Whether, I mean, some people think it's a bioweapon, others think it originated in the meat markets of Wuhan, but whichever way it came, it seems to be the result of bad human practice. So, we're a small world, but we're in trouble, and we're in a very big universe. What is our future? What is the base reality of life? This really is the core of our presentation tonight. Tesla said, and here he is in his laboratory, sitting not too far from his magnifying transmitter. He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, we'd just like to share with you a little video on vibration. And for those with sharp eyes, you must realize you need a cat for this, for this little experiment. So here it is. This only happens because of the If you've got the equipment, you can try this, and it does work. Yeah, I know that one.
That's amazing.
This is amazing. And they haven't reversed the video. It really happened. Now, Tesla, as we just said, spoke about vibration and frequency and energy being part of us uncovering the secrets of the universe. And strangely enough, in the Genesis creation story, that's what we have. God spoke, vibration, and said, let there be light, frequency. And this story, for me, recalls two key principles that underpins all universal phenomena. But can sound really create light? Well, I think it can. In fact, a couple of people have done some experiments to show exactly that. Let's just look at another video for a minute.
First time I saw sonoluminescence was in a darkened room. I was fixed to look at this spherical flask of fluid, and you'd look into the center, and in the center see a glowing blue-purple light, which could be seen with the unaided eye. It looked like a star in the heavens.
This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star.
I think that's pretty amazing. I really do. And people often tend to write off creation myths, but it seems a little more than coincidence that in the first chapter of Genesis, we in fact get the two founding principles of all life, vibration and frequency. Ancient peoples knew the truth of origins. They didn't have a textbook or a holy book or scriptures. They just knew from their heart, from the way they lived in their land and lived with their land. They knew about one creator, one creation, and one spirit of life, connecting all. Something that we just really have rediscovered in the 20th century, that everything is connected. Native peoples also knew a fundamental truth, that we are guests of this earth and not its masters. And really that there is only one race on this planet, and that is the human race. And that there is only one colour, and that is red, the red of blood that flows through all our veins. Thinking about this, if time, space and matter are reflections of one creative spirit of life, as Genesis seems to indicate, we're living in a spirit world right now. At least we're living in a world born of spirit. Everything is connected. Now here's Katie, and this is a photograph we took on Iona, minus the butterflies, of course. The reality is we're amazing beings of frequency, connected to one spirit of life. At least that is the reality as far as we see it. We're spirit beings on the human journey.
We've been fortunate to photograph some glimpses into what we've come to see as a beyond reality, at times interfacing with our own. And throughout history, there have been many more exotic events, such as the Miracle of Fatima.
Oh, should we have a look at that, Katie?
In 1917.
Oh, here's an old photograph of that. And over 50,000 people witnessed that event, didn't they, Katie?
Yes.
Called the Miracle of the Sun, on the 13th of October 1917, when just as three children predicted, a lady of light appeared and the sun appeared to swoop over the crowd, actually drying a lot of the wet clothes that had occurred because of the rain.
Yes.
This is something we looked at in quite a lot of detail in the quantum mechanics of prophecy, but more about that later.
And there were many miracles.
Yeah, but mostly, although we all have, as Anne and other people know, we all have extraordinary events in our lives, synchronicities, paranormal events, mystical events, that point towards another transcendent reality above the material world. But mostly, for the majority of us, our minds are preoccupied most of the time with the human world. But just as the mind of an ant is preoccupied with the ant world, and the ants in our garden, they don't even know it's a garden, they just exist in the ant world. And we're very similar to that. And before we look at this Voyager space probe, which I would like to
look at 22.
Yes, I would like to look at that next. I'd like to just show us a little video that was caught on Moldovan TV, which is an indication of something that just happened out of the ordinary, that indicates a wider reality, and I'll just show you that now.
I think it has been well viewed, but it is worth another shot.
Ожидается со дня на день, когда
Now, this
установится
is a
настоящая
nature
теплая
program.
погода. Пернатых можно назвать нашими верными помощниками, защитниками лесов, полей, садов и огородов. Но насколько они сами защищены? Сегодня в грани полного исчезновения 26 видов птиц. Их стихия небо, но даже там, на их собственной территории, они не всегда в безопасности. Парящая птица – это красота и тайна. Недаром этим крылатым существам посвящено столько песен, сказаний, стихов и легенд. Но, к сожалению, в последние годы эта красота подвергается все большей опасности. Только за последние 350 лет...
Олежка, сори.
Ой, ничего себе! Что это? Вау!
Вау!
Блин! Что это?
Пропал. Офигеть.
Что это было?
Sometimes things just happen out of the blue for no apparent reason that indicate a wider reality than we are usually engaged with. Now, our reality now is all about exploring the space around us. And this is the Voyager 1 space probe that was launched by NASA in 1977. In 1999, in February, it turned its camera around when it was about 4 billion miles away to photograph the solar system. And here is what it shot. This little tiny beam of sunlight here reveals this little dot. And this is Earth from 4 billion miles away. And this is us, all of us. And it just made me feel how futile all our divisions and conflicts seem at the cosmic scale. And this made me question why, with all our creativity, inventiveness, with all our science and technology, why is there still not peace on this planet? Why are we still seeing people killing each other, people angry, people squabbling over land? Why still a divided world? It hardly seems like a spirit world. But at nature, at the level of nature, every organism lives in harmony with the spirit of life. And living in the spirit of life is the main focus for every species. You know, animals don't get bored. It's human beings that get bored. I remember talking to a couple of teenagers who said they were bored, and it occurred to me that they were not bored with what they were doing. As I pointed out, boredom is in the mind, not in what you're doing. And a lot of our problems stem from there, from our attitude to life around us and to events. Now, everyone in nature lives in the spirit of life. All the creatures around us, they live in the moment. They don't get bored. They don't war with each other. They live in the moment of the spirit of life, all except one of them. And we wonder which one that could be. And of course, it's us. Greed, war, exploitation, all the ways we're exploiting the environment, exterminating species, and basically messing up our planet. All this is contrary to the spirit of life. And yet, you know, there are millions, if not billions, of kind, caring people, but the human world is still divided. Divided against itself as well as nature. And I've had to question why. What has gone wrong with the human species? Well, it all started a long time ago. And not surprisingly, when we look back in the past, we can learn something perhaps about our present. Certainly that was true of Daniel in the Bible nearly 3,000 years ago. The cause of all our troubles was pinpointed in the Old Testament. Now, Daniel related the king of Babylon's disturbing dream of an image of a huge metal man. Nebuchadnezzar had inherited his advisors and slaves from his father. And when he had this very disturbing dream, he asked them to tell him what it was. He knew what it was, but he asked them to tell him as well as interpret the dream. Of course, they couldn't, so they're all sentenced to death. Daniel heard of this and decided that he felt that he would be able to explain to the king his dream. And he did. And this is the great image that Nebuchadnezzar dreamed. And there are three things that seem to me important in this image. One was it as an image of imperialism. It's an image of greed. It's made up of various precious metals. And it was an image of power. The head of gold, referred to Nebuchadnezzar. The chest of silver refers to Medo-Persia that followed him. Hips of bronze, the Grecian Empire, and the legs of iron to the Roman Empire, which come right down to the feet of my clay and iron, which are our times, according to some people. People have taken this as a prophecy, but I think it's more of a symbol, a representation of the wrong priorities that have driven so many imperialistic powers in our time. It's an image of greed and power, and it symbolizes to me everything that is done in whatever name that has brought so much trouble, death, and destruction to our world. You know, somebody said once that those who are running a country or a civilization, if they are corrupt people, they will inevitably create a code to justify what they are doing. And then they will make laws to enforce that. And this has been done all through history. The French philosopher Voltaire, he made some insightful remarks, and a couple of them here, which I think refer very much, as far as I'm concerned, to this great image of corruption and power, is the more often the stupidity is repeated, the more it gets the appearance of wisdom. And more importantly, those who can make anyone believe absurdities can make them also commit atrocities. And we have seen that so often through history, and certainly in the present day. How often has life, peace, and the environment been destroyed in the name of greed, power, politics, religion, or progress? I think it's all too often. And again, this all goes against what I consider to be the spirit of life. People today are protesting all across the globe against things that they feel infringe their freedoms, their liberties, and their life. There's a general tone of dissatisfaction. Maybe this is what we will get as a civilization nears its close. Daniel's image, I feel, reflected the materialistic construct of today. And none of that represented or respected the spirit of life. Domination by greed and power, degradation of the environment, global power in the hands of a small minority, the widening gap that we have now between the rich and poor. All of this is unsustainable in any terms. Thinking about the film Matrix, it seemed to me that this reflected this construct of earthly power, and that this construct, and I don't subscribe to any conspiracy theories, I believe what we're dealing with here is pure human greed, avarice, often hubris, and the lust for power. I think that we're looking at human failings that have driven our world into the cul-de-sac that it seems to be heading in today. And I think this construct doesn't want us to see beyond the illusion. And yet, we do see. Our creative spirit of life connects us with each other and with all life everywhere. When disaster strikes, people reach out to help each other, and they do that beyond divisions of class, culture, religion, politics, or self-interest. Most people are of good intent. Most people will put aside their religious differences, their political differences, when there is a need to help other human beings, or indeed help other species. And we see some wonderful things that have happened in this world over the past few years. And I think COVID-19, for one thing, has highlighted so many good things that human beings are capable of, but it's also highlighted so many bad things. Daniel's vision, to me, is not one of doom. I know people have said that this is a vision of the end of the world, but not for me. It's a vision of hope, because it predicts the end of the rule of greed and power, and hopefully a return to what Jesus called the rule of God in the human heart, what Daniel called the kingdom of heaven. Now, according to Daniel, the rule of greed and power comes to an end when the feet of the image are struck by this stone from heaven. And I don't for 1 minute believe this is a meteorite or any kind of cosmic event like that. I believe what Daniel's vision tells us is that we're to look for something beyond this image of greed and power, something beyond the construct of human arrogance. We need to look wider to the Spirit of God, to the Spirit of our Creator. And indeed, today we have 3 avenues open to us, I think. One is outer space, another is inner space, and another is cyberspace. These 3 spaces, I think, if we use them correctly, will help us to get a perspective on this image and become free from the rule of greed and power. Now, I've looked at this image and other prophecies in the quantum mechanics of prophecy, as Scott was saying, and in Looking Beyond the Materialist Delusion. So if you'd like to follow those up a little bit, they're both available on Amazon. But for me, the key factor about all this, about what Daniel is all about, and the prophecy of the great image, is that change comes like a lightning bolt from outside of this construct. We have to think, as they say, out of the box. Once this happens, according to Daniel's prophecy, the kingdom of heaven rules on earth. According to Daniel, humanity restored to its rightful place in the cosmos. Instead of being exploiters of the planet, we're now free to be caretakers of the earth and of each other in one spirit of life. And I think this is why I felt it was important to draw attention to the idea of a spirit world, because everything, as far as I'm aware, is born of God's spirit of life. Everything is connected by one spirit. Nothing stands alone. The human race, when run by greed and power, becomes hostile to the spirit of life. Today we're crawling over the world, gobbling up the resources and exterminating other species with little regard for the consequences. Now, this is not ordinary human beings. This is driven by business interests, by giant corporations, and by people who really value power for its own sake. But this whole area, this whole arena of human activities is unsustainable in any terms. It really is. If we continue with our anti-spirit of life progress, we will turn this world into a moon. Fortunately, the caterpillar world is not the whole picture. It really is. We're not born to crawl like the caterpillars. We're not born to gobble up the resources. We are, I believe, born to fly, to transcend to another level. In the spirit, everything is connected. One of the photographs we took was this orb configuration, which we later realized matched 11 out of the 21 stars in Canis Major. And this, amongst other things, turned our awareness to the wider cosmos, to see how we were connected to that. It's useful to know where we are. We live in this huge revolving city of stars. We call it the Milky Way galaxy, and we're here, right here, on one of the spiral arms. And as you saw in that photograph from the Voyager probe, we're a tiny dot in the universe. We're part of a huge environment, very much like the ants in our garden. We are part of a huge environment, a huge cosmic environment of life on many, many levels. And
it's moving.
And it's moving. In fact, this little dot here, as the galaxy turns, it will take us 200 million years to return to where we are now. The time we are moving through space, we're never in the same place for any 1 minute. We're moving through space into new areas. It's like a great seasonal wheel, just like the Earth turns around the sun and you get the seasons of the year. As we turn around the galaxy, we are moving into different seasons, different galactic seasons. And I think we're moving into one right now. And a lot of this has been reflected in New Age movements, in New Age thinking, in religious visions. In all kinds of ways, human beings have a feeling that something is coming, something new, perhaps. Perhaps it will come from outer space. Now, here's an interesting photograph of a massive structure above the sun's outer atmosphere. And this is a photograph by the Soho Observatory. As you can see, this is a huge structure. I don't know what it is, but it's got to be hundreds of thousands of miles long. Massive. Here's another one. This is one of many photographs taken by the Cassini mission, 2004 to 2017. And not only Cassini has photographed this, other missions have photographed a similar sort of things. Massive structures, cylindrical objects, near to and moving in and out of the rings of Saturn. Here's another photograph by a fairly well-known astrophotographer called John Leonard Wolfson. And this is an enormous structure in deep space.
And we
There
have
are
about 20 of these photographs.
Loads, lots and lots of them. At the moment, NASA don't even bother to hide these things. They really don't. You can go onto a NASA site and you can look through the thousands and thousands of images, and you can find things that will blow your mind. Just like the ruins on Mars. You will see ruins on Mars, you will see structures, cities, moving objects on our moon. They're not hiding this anymore. They're really not.
On the moon, particularly with all the colours under the
huge, yeah. I mean, most of us don't realise that the moon is full of colour. Green, red, oranges, purples, blues. We just don't see it because of, yeah. And you can get your telescope out. I'd advise anybody to get a telescope, get a good telescope, start taking pictures. And you'll soon see that the world is not as we have been led to believe it is, at least the world around us, the cosmos around us. Most people toe the line. We're educated from school to believe in a certain way. A black guy recently said in America, I was talking about Black Lives Matter. He said, you know what? He was a university student, and he said, what we're taught in school and university today is conformity thinking, not creative thinking. And I couldn't agree with him more. I think we are taught a certain view, just as they were taught a certain view in medieval times. We're really like ants on the edge of immensities. We really are.
And we're ready for a renaissance, aren't we? Could talk about
yeah, I think we could say we're certainly ready for a spiritual renaissance,
yeah.
And we certainly need one. Each of us are part of a mystery and wonder, the mystery and wonder of creation. As we said, I believe we're spirit beings on a human journey. And look, hey, here's Earth, our home in the cosmos. It's the only home we have, and we're screwing it up. We're basically messing it up. And that is the reality. Everything here shares one spirit of life, given to us, I believe, by our Creator. Native Americans knew this. They feel it in their hearts. Indigenous people feel it in their hearts. We feel it in the earth. We see it in the heavens. Every breath we take is a miracle, and every day is a gift. In our sophisticated, semi-intelligent world of the West, we have lost our connection with nature. We really have. There are two worlds, I believe, on planet Earth. There's God's biosphere for all creatures, the spirit of life world. And then there is man's materialistic pyramid of power, which has always and ever served just a small minority. Today, it's the 1%. And if we believe people like physicist and agricultural scientist Vedana Shiva, we're only looking at 6 people who rule and own the whole world. Just 6 people, 6 individuals. This cannot be right. This reminded me, the state of the world today, that there is only one, and that the one is the many, formless and formed, spirit and matter, light and dark, you and me. In each is the all, and all are the one. We're all part of God's universe, all part of God's creation, and each of us, I believe, are important in our own right, as spirit beings and as material beings. One of our friends who's present today, Ian, well knows that native peoples know the way to a better world. And that way is to reflect the great spirit of our Creator in every aspect of our lives. To do this, we need to oppose greed and corruption in all its forms. We need to protect all that is good. Be at one with the great spirit of life. Live in peace. Care for the earth and its creatures. And if there is to be a new normal, I would say let this be the new normal. let the spirit world, the world of the spirit of compassion and love that comes from our Creator, let it be the new normal. And to close with,
For humanity to be free.
yeah, we need humanity to be free from the destructive matrix of materialism.
And if you have to choose,
Yes, if we have to choose, Katie, you're right.
just
And often we do have to choose not to, just like the alcoholic has to choose not to take another drink, we have to choose not to feed the institutions of greed and power, because materialism disconnects us from the core reality of life, from the spirit of life. But the spirit of our Creator reconnects us with each other and with the whole of creation. It's all about that oneness, that the one is the many in the spirit world. And I'd just like to close with this little song, because I think for me it sums up what humanity is really capable of if it chooses to take the positive way and converge with the greater reality of our Creator. So to end, I'm just going to play this little song, which is called, there we go, We Are One.
To be humble, to be kind, it is a giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is the thinking that the heart can still be saved. And the darkness can come quick, the dangers in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see, a world that's full of endless possibilities, and heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
For me, that little song says it all, really. And really, it goes in line with the two key connections that Jesus identified for us to interface with God's spirit of life.
only
that is-
two things.
yeah,
I said only
Just two things, yeah. And that is love for God and love for our fellow human beings.
That's all.
And the kingdom of heaven that spoken of in the Gospels, I think, is in effect more like a kingdom, like a kinship of all connected beings, all connected by God's spirit of life, all kindred spirits. And in that sense, we are the one and the many, part of a spirit universe in a spirit world, connected by one spirit of life. Thank you very much, friends, for being here. And that's the end of our little presentation.
Thank you.
Scott,
Thank you both for a wonderful talk. It was really nice to hear from you both.
Yeah.
And this is Katie Hall and John Pickering.
Yeah.
You can find their books on Amazon. And as far as I remember, your website is still under construction.
Construction, it is, yeah.
But it'll be there one day.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is I'll just share my screen. But thank you very much, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
questions.
everyone.
Thank you. Stay safe. How many minutes are there? That is it.
They're all
We're
going.
out.
Yeah, they're all going.
Yeah. So we've gone. I knew the God thing would just stick in people's throats, but there you go.